All right, welcome everybody to my new YouTube channel called Educating Young Minds. And today we have Chantalle here, and we're going to talk a little bit about where we are today and using TechnoTutor and just sharing a little bit of her story. So welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is gonna be awesome.
All right. So the first question that we're going to get into today is, what do you feel you are working on in your present life and in the present moment to improve your life, to just be better and just really do what's best for all and improve even your relationship with Owen and things like that?
Yeah, so for me, like being expressive is the hard part for what I've always struggled with because I'm a suppressor. So I don't really express myself. And when I think of things to say, or I just get too much in my mind. So really like what has helped me with TechnoTutor in general is just being more expressive. Like I would have never been able to jump on this interview with you just like with no resistance, no problem. But also just walking through that too. I previously was a medical laboratory scientist for the past 10 years. And throughout my journey in that, I had slowly like became more expressive because I started traveling the last 5 years. And so within that, you move to places and you don't know anyone. And so I had really no choice but to face my fears and like meeting new people, right?
Yeah.
And so that was like the start of me starting to be expressive, because growing up like in school, I was very shy. Like I never talked to anyone. And then when I moved out, like it took me so long to like make friends. Like it was just, I was a very suppressive person and shy until I got to know you for a really long time. So for me, that's just a very habitual thing now, is like it's my automatic programming to just observe everything first. And then once I like, okay, I get the gist of like what's going on here, then I'll start expressing myself. But I'm really working towards just being expressive right away and not like being in that observe mode, because that's my comfort zone, right? And so in my present moment, I'm just like willing to like just start jumping on calls with people and talking to people, going to events and start talking to people right away and just keep pushing that barrier. And through working through like what my back chat is when I'm like about to do those things, it's just like recognizing it and like, why is it there? And that I see through that will be able to help me through writing, self-forgiveness writing, and TechnoTutor be able to create the expression that I want to create within myself. Because like people have these ideas of themselves based off their memories, right? And like I can still keep thinking like, oh, I'm this shy kid and I need to like be reserved and observe everything before, or I can just be who I want to be and express myself right away. And so it's just making that decision. And so that's been my like present thing that I've really been working on.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So a couple of things that I want to see if you're willing to define for us is, can you kind of share a little bit about what backchat is for you and also just for other people who maybe don't know what that means?
Yeah. So what I define backchat is like when you have a doubt or fear come up in the moment and you're having like all these like racing words in your head, like, oh man, I don't know if I should talk to that person. They're probably going to say something to me. Or like a lot of mine is like, oh, I'm not sure what they're going to say, so I don't know how to respond, or I don't even know where to start a conversation because I don't really know this person, what their background is. So that's a lot of my back chat in the realm of expression, right? So for me, it's just like anything that's fearful and doubtful is usually my back chat. And right when you recognize that and you're able to like, okay, why does it matter what they're going to say to me? Because you're acting like you don't know how to answer a question or respond to a person. Like it's pretty simple, right? But And it sounds funny, like when you start writing it out in your self-forgiveness writing and you flash it through your tech notes and you're like, God, this just sounds so stupid. Like, why is this even my back chat? But it is because of like your previous programming. Like at some point in my childhood, like I remember some things came up for me around that was a lot. I grew up in a reservation school. So my vocabulary in the foundation of my school years was very low vocabulary, not very good school system. And so I, throughout life, I would say words, but I would say them wrong. And then people would make fun of me, like, oh, that's not how you say that. So it always triggered this emotion in me, like, God, I'm fucking stupid. Like, I don't even know how to say simple words. And so for me, like, it's always, I think that memory that I'm working through the most of like, it doesn't matter if you mess up a word, like, they're going to correct you and it's okay. Like, it doesn't matter. So
Yeah.
it's just simple little things that you don't even realize until you start process, that holds you back from like literally just simple things in life and not living life. So yeah.
Yeah. That's beautiful. And I was just reading The Magic of Thinking Big. I just had a look on my desk here. I was reading that last night. And in there it talks about just like creative thinking, but also like, is it important? Right. So like what you just said is like all this back chat, like, is that's going on in your mind? Like, is it important for you to listen to that or to even share it? Right. Like, is it something that you feel like you need to be like, oh, I'm so fearful of this, and like, I don't want to say waste your breath, but really like it is, you're like wasting your breath and your energy to like vocalize all these fears and these doubts, and it's just not best, it's not healthy for us. And so the more and more, like you said, you can see that and hear it and understand it, and then just like let it go and be like, we're just, we don't need to like internalize and like overthink around these fears and doubts that we have. So
Yeah, a really cool tool that I've used to, because sometimes like you have this back chat and it's so fast, right? And you don't like remember to do it. So like for me personally, like I do my process in the morning, like I'll do my writing and my techno tutor in the morning. But sometimes I don't remember from yesterday what my back chat was. So I was having a problem like remembering like things that I wanted to work through, like what was the specific back chat that was happening. So what I did is I like have a actual note on my phone where like if I'm going into a moment and I notice like my back chat and I'm fearful, I'll write down my back chat in there. So that way the next day in the morning, like I have a note like, okay, this is what I need to write about or I need to work through. And that's really like helped me be able to break through that barrier, because I actually have a specific thing that I can work on with the tools, because sometimes you'll use a lot of time like just using the tools trying to figure out what exactly is it that you're hitting that resistance on. So it's important to get very specific sometimes, if you really want to break through fast, is what I found.
yeah, that's super cool. So on that note, kind of tagging off of what you just said, what do you feel is like the word, and you might already know this because we kind of did this on the Friday night hangout.
Yeah.
What is the word that you've picked that you are choosing to live by and focus on right now, whether it's this month or this whole year? And when you share that one word, also if you can share the definition for that word as well for the audience.
Yeah, so my word that I've picked to work on obviously is expressive. I've said that a lot. And the reason that I picked that word is because it was also a suggestion given to me, like that would be my next step to work on, because sometimes within our process, we think we're doing like so good, right? And we're like moving and all this stuff, but there's little gaps that we don't notice. And like, I thought that I was being expressive, but then what I recognized was I was being expressive in the sense of if it was a small group, but then if the group got bigger than like 10 people, then I would just sit back and listen, and like listen to everyone talk and like be observant again. So for me, the expression point is just like being able to, how I'm defining it is being able to actually initiate and go in conversations when it's actually a group of 10 or more. So, because for me, it's easy, natural to do small groups. That's easy for me, but that's my next step. So this year, it's just really focusing on speaking in front of larger groups of people and being more expressive in larger groups of people, and not being scared of like, oh, I'm gonna say something wrong and all these people are gonna laugh at me. So that's probably actually something I need to work through as well. Now that I think about it, is like it's speech in school. Like I hated like doing speeches in front of class and stuff. So that could be like part of what's the resistance as well. Like everyone's focusing on you, and I don't like being the center of attention. So like I don't want to talk, and like all those gotcha things. Yeah.
Yeah. That's really interesting that you share that, because I bet there's a lot of people who will watch this and that are in the audience, and just other people even in TechnoTutor and Self-Perfected who have that same experience. I would honestly say probably 80% or more of people who are out there who went to public school or private school or whatever, if you ever had to do a speech, it was like anxiety on 10. You're like, please don't drop my name next. Like whatever the process was for you to present, it was really hard for people. And I would say from my own personal like experience, I have that same thought around it, because it was a lot. And then now, like you said, being able to have you jump on this with me is awesome. And also for myself, being able to just like, not even really care too much about like the background and just all these things, because for probably both of us, we are just at this point where it's like we want to share so much of our story that it's like that becomes the purpose and that becomes what's important. So this is really cool to do this. So my last thing before we get off today and we close is, I always love to ask people like, what is something in the last 24 to 48 hours that you've experienced, that you've walked through, or a memory that you now have created that you would like to share with us?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could just share like a couple things that are related to me expressing myself, since we're kind of on that subject. So recently Owen and I had just moved to Miami Beach. We don't know anyone here, so this is where like the expression is really going to have to shine. And yesterday we had our first Miami Beach Self-Perfected hangout, and getting to know people to invite them over to your place, and talking about things that matter. So that was an expression, right? And then also this morning, Owen and I joined the local CrossFit gym. I've been doing CrossFit for the last, I think, like 3 years. And so that's always been like a community little thing that I've always done. And I was like, I wanted to tap into that, because health and fitness is very important to both Owen and I. And so I was like, well, why don't we just join something that has a community already? And so we had our first session there, and we got to meet like a ton of people there. They're very motivated and really outgoing. And so we were able to express ourselves there. So that was awesome. Yeah.
That's super cool. And I saw something on your story, I think this morning.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure if it was in like where you live or if it was somewhere else. So that's really cool, because now you'll start to build the community within like your neighborhood, right? But then also in this like health and fitness community as well, which is a very like mutual space for both you and Owen to go in together, because you're able to share that, but then also be able to like just, you have so much knowledge around that because you've been doing it for so long. So then you probably can share things with people there, and just by sharing, then you build that trust with other people and you build those relationships. So
Yeah, and it was really important for us to live out the principle of treat your body as your temple, right?
Yeah.
Because that's in our agreement. And so it's finding something that still is well-rounded in the sense that we have our community and we have a place to go to focus on that principle as well. And so we can bring that into our business. So yeah, that's why we chose that. And I think we'll see how it goes. I mean, I think it's going to be great. So
Yeah, that's awesome. We'll follow up and see how everything's going. And I'm excited to see you live out your word expression
thanks.
and just being able to move forward with that. So awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, and
Yeah,
we will follow up soon, hopefully.
yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.